Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. Welcome back to my channel, My Loverlies. If you've never been here before, thank you so much for clicking on my video. I am so happy you found me. I do so hope that you will like and subscribe before you leave. Become part of the Mama family. Mama's got your back, at least where makeup's concerned, and definitely when that makeup is cheap. Today is True Love Tuesday. We are talking about a truly delicious couple. Even though they are no longer an item, they were so cute while they were together. We're talking about Anna Faris and her ex-hubby, Mr. Chris Pratt. Before we get started, a very special, very warm welcome to any of those that are new to my channel. I am so incredibly happy that you are here. If you enjoy the content, I do so hope that you will mash that thumbs up button. I hope that you will subscribe if you have not already. And I hope that you will ring my bell, turn on your notifications, so that way, next time I upload a video, you can come right back here and we can hang out together again. Also, my eye makeup is already done. I love today's eye look. I was going for something very springy, very pastel, and this is what I came up with. I used the Glamlight Michaela Part 1 palette. Such a beautiful palette. One of the older ones in my collection, and it still hits every single time I use it. I, of course, did film a TikTok on today's eye look if you're interested. I'll make sure to put the tags for that, as well as all of my other socials, Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff in the description box below. Guys, if you are not following me on all my other socials, you definitely should go do that. Post fun content every single day. And if you're following me everywhere, you don't ever have to worry about missing a single moment of it. Also, I will make sure to put a full list of all of the products that we're going to use in today's video in the description box as well. I don't usually talk too awful much about the makeup that I'm using, but of course, if you have any questions about anything I used or how I'm using it, all you have to do is leave me a comment and I will get back to you. All right, guys, if you see me looking over in this direction, it is because I am looking at my notes. There are quite a few of them for today's video, so we're going to be here for just a minute. I hope that you will sit back, relax, get comfy, get cozy, get you a big old glass of something to drink, and let's go ahead and dive right in. Chris and Anna really did seem like the perfect couple. Guys, they were so freaking cute together. If you don't remember back in the day, before Chris was like Mr. Superhero Guardian of the Galaxy, he was Andy Dwyer on Parks and Rec. Do you guys remember that? He was this big old kind of like teddy bear, but he was a little bit of a goof, you know, not the sharpest tool in the shed, but very lovable anyway. And then you had Anna, who was the house bunny. She was like this, she was from, you remember her in Scary Movie? She was just this very quirky, ditzy blonde, just, I mean, with a sense of humor, like just like nobody's business. So the two of them together were genuinely perfect, and we thought that their marriage was perfect as well. And then all of a sudden, they decided that, we're done, we're going to get divorced. They announced their divorce to the world, and it kind of took us all by surprise. We were like, what? What did you say? Just none of us saw it coming. And so that's what I wanted to figure out, like, why did they actually get divorced? What's going on here? Because I remember when they announced their divorce, it was when Chris had just started getting really big. He had just been in Guardian of the Galaxy. He had just been in Jurassic Park, which was another big one for him as well. And I remember thinking, tell me this man did not dump this woman because he got big. Like, I would be so angry. So I decided to figure out, why did they actually get divorced? Like, what happened here? So we're going to kind of discover that in today's video. Of course, I'm going to start talking about each one of them individually, and then we'll get into them as a pair. We're going to start off with Miss Anna. Now, Anna was born Anna K. Faris on November 29th, 1976. She is 48 years old at the moment. She was born in Baltimore, Maryland, and her parents, Jack Faris, who is a sociology professor, and her mother, Karen, who is a special education teacher. She has one older brother named Robert, and he followed in their father's footsteps. He too became a sociology professor, and he teaches at the University of California, Davis. Now, Anna says that growing up, the kind of vibe at their house was very conservative. She said both of her parents are ultra liberal, not super like religious in any way, but very traditional and very conservative. And because of this, they were on a little bit of a short leash. They kept a pretty strict eye on their children. But just because they kept a strict eye on their children does not mean that they suppressed their children in any way. When Anna was around 6 years old, the family packed their bags and they moved to Edmonds, Washington. And this is when Anna kind of found her love of acting, because she was a very overactive child. She was very shy, very awkward, and her parents wanted to deal with a little bit of that extra energy, but they also wanted to help her open up and kind of be a little more adept socially. So they signed her up for a community drama class for kids. And this is where Anna really flourished. She really found her love of acting. She found her voice. She started to kind of interact with people just a little bit better, and it was just helpful to her all across the board. Now, her parents must have seen some kind of potential there, because they made sure to nurture this talent of hers. They made sure to support her when she wanted to join plays or be a part of school productions. They made sure to just be there for her and let her know that it's okay to want to do this. Now, they were never pushy and they never forced her into anything, but they were always very supportive and, just kind of like right there if she needed them. They really encouraged her to act and explore her interest in theater. Now, Anna absolutely adored going to watch plays. She loved going to the theater, any kind of community show that was going on, she was there. And this really did help her, because she was such a shy and awkward young person. Being a part of plays and being able to kind of make believe that she was someone else really did help her to kind of blossom. Now, eventually, her interest in the theater kind of morphed into her kind of like writing and producing plays in her bedroom. She would invite all of the kids from the neighborhood over. They would put on these plays in the backyard. It really went from a hobby into a way for her to make friends and really express herself. Anna graduated from Edmonds Woodway High School in 1994 and described herself very much as a drama club dork. She was not a popular girl at all whatsoever. She was a little bit of a late bloomer, and she didn't even go on her first date until she was a senior in high school. She enrolled in college right after she got out of high school. She went on to attend the University of Washington, where she ended up getting a degree in English literature. And she goes on to say that she never, even though she really did enjoy the theater and, she enjoyed participating in it, she didn't really think it was going to be a career. It wasn't ever something that she really put any stock in. She didn't really think she had the talent. She didn't think that she had the mojo to kind of go for it. So instead, she wanted to be an author. Actually, her dream was to be able to write and publish a novel one day. Though she did continue to act in local plays and productions, mainly just to make a little bit of extra cash. She was a broke college student, and she really could use any extra dollar that she could find. Now, when it came time for Anna to graduate, she was a girl with a plan. She wanted to travel. She kind of wanted to explore the world just a little bit, and she found a way to be able to do that. She had a job all lined up. She was going to pack her bags and move off to London. She was going to go to London and be a receptionist or a front desk clerk for an ad agency out in England. And it came to, I want to say maybe like a couple days before she was due to leave. And all of a sudden, like she must have just changed her mind. And like on like a spur of the moment kind of thing, she decided, nope, I'm not going to go to London. I'm going to go to LA. I think I have what it takes to be an actress. I think I'm funny. I think I can do this. I'm just going to go for it. So instead of her flying off to London, she ends up going to LA to really pursue a career in acting. Now, luckily for Anna, it really ended up not being super difficult for her to kind of break into the business. She, of course, auditioned. She went out for a couple of small parts, but she caught her big break pretty early on, and she auditioned for the role of Cindy Campbell in the Scary Movie. And we all know this is kind of her breakthrough role, and all of us remember her from Scary Movie. And this ended up turning into like a 5 or 6 part series in which she was in every single movie. Now, with this part in the Scary Movie, she really gets to showcase her sense of humor, and other people saw it, and other directors, other producers, they wanted a little piece of it. So she ended up getting cast in a bunch of different things. She does say, however, that she kind of got pigeonholed just a little bit because nobody ever really wanted to take her seriously. She wanted very badly to be able to sink her teeth into something just a little bit deeper, something with a little bit more meaning behind it. However, nobody was ever really interested in that for her. The only thing she ever got offered was super funny, kind of like dissy, dumb blonde roles. And even though she enjoys doing that, that's what she's built her career on, she does regret that she never got a chance to really do something super juicy and dramatic. All in all, her career has been incredibly successful. She's got about 53 film credits to her name. She's got about 81 television credits to her name. She's done a ton of voiceover work. She's just kind of like been there and done that. And she's done it well. She overall is very highly regarded in Hollywood. She's done a really great job of just kind of like keeping out of trouble. And yeah, nobody has anything but good things to say about Miss Anna. When it comes to Anna's dating history, it's kind of non-existent. She's only been with 3 men in her entire life, the first of which was her first husband. And this is the only person in her life before Mr. Chris Pratt. Anna was incredibly young when she met Ben Indra. Actually, she met him on the set of Lover's Lane. And this was one of the very few roles that she got before Scary Movie. So it was before she was kind of like a bigger name. She was still pretty much a nobody at this point in time. And she got cast in a small part in Lover's Lane. Now, her romantic interest in that movie was an actor by the name of Ben Indra. Her and Ben had quite a bit of chemistry on screen. Of course, that kind of rolls over into real life as well. And they began dating. Now, by the time filming had wrapped on Lover's Lane, they were an official item, and they continued to date for around 5 years. And at this point, Anna's getting a little bit bigger. Her name is definitely getting out there. And I think Ben decides he just really wants to lock it down. Now, again, Anna was very, very young when she met Ben and began her relationship with him. And at that point in time, I don't think she was very versed in men or relationships at all. And she just couldn't see how controlling and manipulative this man really, really was. It wasn't a great relationship, at all, by any means or definition of the word. But she stays with him. She stays with Ben for around 5 years. And again, her name is getting a little bit bigger. She's getting bigger roles. And Ben decides he's got to lock her down. So he proposes to her. And he proposes to her not once, but twice, right? Because Miss Anna, she knows her worth. The first time this man proposes, they're in the car on their way to go get some burritos. And he doesn't have a ring. There's no nothing. He just kind of like blurts out, "Hey, will you marry me?" And she's like, "No, try again." Well, he does try again. He tries a little bit harder the next time, and she ends up saying yes. They get married, and they're together for a good long while. Their marriage only lasted about 3 years, though, before Anna was just kind of fed up with it. And, Mr. Chris has a lot to do with their divorce. There was no cheating or anything like that, but I think Anna saw greener pastures, and it was enough for her to finally kind of realize that what she was doing was kind of like wasting her life, and the person she was with was not the person she was supposed to be with forever. And I think the big thing where Ben is concerned is I think he was just a little bit of a mooch. And of course, I don't want to badmouth somebody that I don't know anything about, but I tried to look him up, and there's really nothing on him. He was on a TV show that was kind of like that aired for a couple of years, but he was in nothing after 2005. And they did Lover's Lane in 1999, and they got married, I think, in around 2001, 2 maybe. So after that, he was just not in anything and he didn't work at all. So you have Anna, who's kind of bringing home the bacon and taking care of Ben. And I think one of the biggest reasons he proposed in the first place was because he saw a meal ticket. And I think Anna just got fed up with it. She got tired of it. And she was just like, I'm done. I'm going to walk away. Everything finally came to a head in 2007. Now, this is when Anna gets cast in Take Me Home Tonight. And this is the same movie where she meets Chris Pratt. So in this movie, it's Topher Grace who plays the lead. Anna plays Topher's sister in the movie, and Chris Pratt plays Anna's boyfriend. Now, in the movie, Chris plays kind of like the no-good boyfriend, and in the end, they end up breaking up, and it's just kind of like a who needs you anyway kind of moment. But in real life, there was a whole lot of chemistry going on. Miss Anna was very much enjoying spending time with Mr. Chris. She enjoyed spending time with him so much that a month into filming this movie, she calls Ben and she's like, we're breaking up. I'm done. I'm filing for divorce. We're over. Chris really doesn't have anything to do with this other than he kind of showed her greener pastures. He showed her that there was life outside of her marriage to Ben, and things could, in fact, be enjoyable. Things could be a lot better if she would just give herself a chance. There was, like I said, there was no cheating. There was no infidelity. Chris never made a move on Anna until after she made the phone call to break up with Ben, and then they did start their relationship. Chris Pratt, y'all. This man is just all kinds of freaking delicious. All kinds of delicious, yummy, scrumdiddlyumptious. I know we all pretty much feel the same way about Mr. Chris Pratt, but I am telling you, good Lord have mercy. He is just a hunk of yummy, yummy, burning love. Love him so much. But his backstory is kind of fantastic as well. He comes from very, very humble beginnings. So Chris was born Christopher Michael Pratt on June 21st, 1979. He's around 44, 45 years old, so he's actually about 3 years younger than Miss Anna. He was born in Virginia, Minnesota, but raised in Lake Stevens, Washington, to parents Kathleen Louise, who was a supermarket employee, and then his father, Daniel Clifton Pratt, was a home remodeler, kind of like jack of all trades, master of none, that kind of thing. His father basically did whatever he could to get the bills paid. Now, he was born the youngest of 3 siblings. He has 2 older siblings, an older brother, Cully, and then an older sister named Angie. He grew up in, I don't want to necessarily say a poor home, but not like a lower middle class, right? Like lower class, they didn't have a lot of money to throw around. And because of this, they were very, very frugal, right? His parents are doing whatever they can to make ends meet on top of trying to raise 3 children. So things were just a little bit tight. Because of this, Chris grew up knowing that he was going to have to make his own way in life. He definitely did not grow up with a silver spoon in his mouth. He didn't grow up coddled or spoiled in any way. The man has always worked for the things that he wanted. And y'all, that just makes me love him that much more. He grew up in a very loving, but kind of like his parents were very loving and very supporting. But again, they worked hard and didn't always have enough time to kind of devote to him. So Chris used imagination and fantasy to kind of escape that, right? He was the youngest kid, right? So his older siblings didn't necessarily want to spend time with him all the time. So he used imagination and fantasy as an escape. He used it as a way to kind of cope with his problems, and that is really what led into his love of acting and drama and theater. In high school, Chris joined the drama club and began acting in school productions, things like that, and immediately fell in love with it. And very similarly to Anna, as much as Chris enjoyed acting in the productions and theater, things like that, he never really looked at it as something that he could make a career. A little bit of a realist, and he knew that while he enjoyed it, it was more of a hobby than a career. Actually, the way that Chris ended up kind of happening into his career is super unique. I've not heard anything else like it thus far doing True Love Tuesdays. So his backstory is super fun and unique. I love it. We'll get to it in just a second. So he goes to high school, does pretty well in high school, finishes high school. It's not necessarily his favorite thing in the world, but he finishes. And then he goes on to enroll in some acting classes at the local community college. And, you know, he's having fun while he's in these acting classes. He is auditioning for plays and productions being put up by local theater houses. And, you know, sometimes he gets the parts, sometimes he doesn't. And at some point he's just like, I've gotten all that I can get from this. You know, I feel like I'm kind of wasting my time a little bit. I want to go out. I want to experience something different, something new. So he drops out of the community college acting classes. He packs his bags and he decides to take his chances in Hawaii. You know, at this point, he's grown, he's old enough to kind of go out there and explore on his own. And he's like, you know what, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it big, and I'm going to do it the way that I want to do it. So he packs his bags, he gets on a plane, and he goes to the island of Maui. Now, y'all, this man gets to this island, he survives on nothing but a hope and a freaking prayer. He is doing odd jobs during the day. He is fixing roofs, or, you know, any small job that he can get that's going to put a little bit of food in his belly and some money in his pocket. He's doing it. He doesn't have money for a place to stay. He doesn't have money to rent a hotel or a home. So he's literally sleeping in a tent on the beach at night. He is essentially homeless at this point, but happy as a pig in a blanket. Chris genuinely is just he's a simple man, right? He's a man of simple pleasures. He just was happy to be able to enjoy the ocean and the sunshine. Again, he's from freaking Washington, where it does nothing but rain and be like gray and drizzly all the time, right? So now he's on the island of Maui in Hawaii. And even though he's sleeping in a tent at night, he's just as happy could be. Well, eventually he lucks out and he's able to find full-time employment, and he gets hired at this little beachside restaurant. And this, coincidentally, is actually how Chris kind of falls into an acting career, because he's waiting tables one day and all of a sudden Ray Dawn Chong walks into the establishment. She takes one look at Chris and is like, I want you in my new movie. Now, at the time, she was producing, or I think she was producing or directing. She was doing a very short kind of like horror comedy movie entitled Cursed Part 3. And she said, you know what? I want you in my movie. You should come out and you should come be in it, right? And Chris is like, okay, you know what? Sure, let's go. So he packs his bags and he has to relocate to go film this movie. So he packs his bags and he heads down to Los Angeles. Now, y'all, he has an absolute blast filming this movie. He does really, really well. Chris is super funny just in his own right. And so after this experience, because of course the movie isn't going to last forever, the job isn't going to last forever, but he does get paid. So for the first time in a minute, he's got somewhere to live, he's got some money in his pocket, and he has a direction. After filming Cursed Part 3, he knows that he wants to try to give this acting thing a shot. So that's where he really starts to focus his energy in, you know, kind of becoming an actor. It becomes something that he is determined to make real, right? He starts to actively pursue an acting career, and, you know, things go pretty well for him. Even though he does get a pretty slow start, he has a couple of smaller roles, and then he gets his first reoccurring role in, I think it's called Everwood, right? And he is cast as this high school jock kind of guy, and he's kind of a little bit of a teen heartthrob in this show. And this is where he meets his first kind of like serious girlfriend. And y'all, he's still a baby at this point in time. I think he's only like maybe 21, 22, somewhere around in there. Still very, very young. But he's got a regular paycheck coming in. And he's kind of like a Hollywood actor now. Like, he's got a reoccurring role on a show. Like, he's made it in his mind. Like, this is where he wanted to be. And he's finally kind of made his dreams come true. He is absolutely he's on cloud 9. He has no freaking idea just what heights his career is going to reach in just a couple years. So he works on the show Everwood from around 2002 to 2006. So about 4 years, and it's great. He has a blast. But after that, you know, of course, it doesn't last forever. And he's on to bigger and better things. So I think in just a couple of years later, I think about 3 years later, he goes and he auditions for this new show that's coming out called Parks and Rec. And he auditions for the part of Andy Dwyer, who's kind of like this big, lovable doofus shoe shiner. And of course, he absolutely just kind of slam dunks that interview process, that audition process, and gets the role. And this is the part that really makes his name a household one. When it comes to Chris's romantic life or his dating history, very similarly to Anna, he doesn't really have one. He had one relationship before Anna, and it was with a woman by the name of Emily Van Camp, and she actually co-starred with him on Everwood. But their relationship, it was only as strong as the show was. My power's flickering. But it was only as strong as the show was, right? So I think a lot of it had to do with proximity. They spent a lot of time together, and because of that, developed a relationship. But as soon as the show was done, so was their relationship, and they both kind of went their own separate ways. Now, after Emily Van Camp, he didn't really have any other relationships. I'm sure he had hookups and short flings throughout that period between Emily and Anna. But again, I couldn't really find anything, and nothing big enough to be worth noting. Interestingly enough, though, the cast of Everwood were highly discouraged from dating each other by the producers of the show. So when Chris and Emily got together at first, they had to keep their relationship on low. They had to keep it a secret for almost an entire year until they eventually came clean and told producers and cast and crew, all that good stuff, that they were in a relationship. I think they got caught and couldn't keep it a secret anymore. But yeah, they kept their relationship, they kept their love a secret for a full year. Can you imagine how difficult that must have been? Now on to the juicy part of today's story, Mr. Chris and Miss Anna. How did they meet? What's this whole story? What's the situation? So they met in 2007 on the set of Take Me Home Tonight. Like I said, this was the movie that they filmed with Topher Grace, and they played love interests. Now, of course, Chris kind of played the no good, kind of buffoon, misogynistic, kind of very stereotypical, domineering kind of butthole boyfriend in that movie. But in real life, off screen, their chemistry was amazing. Anna was almost immediately smitten with Chris, but again, at this point, she is still very much married, and Chris is not. Chris is interested, but he's not going to act on it. He's not going to do anything about it because she's married. That means she's off limits. However, that doesn't mean they can't flirt. So they start playing this game of cat and mouse across the set, where he's just kind of chasing her around, and she's just kind of following after him like a lost little puppy. And during this time, they're not an item yet. So while they are very much interested in each other, Chris is not going to have anything to do with her because she's married. And during this time, Chris is kind of he's cavorting with some of the other extras and, crew. And he's kind of doing his thing, right? He's a single bachelor, and he's attractive, and things kind of happen, right? Adult things kind of happen. And Anna finds herself so jealous. She doesn't know what to do. She's almost she's so jealous. It's almost to the point where she's mad. She gets mad, and she takes this anger and she channels it into breaking up with her husband. Not even a month into filming, y'all, she calls Ben and she's like, listen, I don't want to be with you anymore. I don't love you anymore. I don't want to be in this relationship with you anymore. And at first, Ben thinks that she's playing. Ben is like, oh yeah, you're just tired. You're just really, really tired. Just get done filming the movie and come home and we'll work on it. And Anna's just like, nope, I'm done. You need to have your bags packed and you need to get out of my house because I'm not taking care of you anymore. I'm not paying your bills anymore. I want something new and we're done. She files for divorce almost immediately after that phone call. And honestly, this is how close her and Chris already were at this point, because before she makes the phone call to Ben, she calls Chris, and she tells Chris that she's about to call Ben and break up with him. Basically, she's just letting Chris know that she's about to be a single woman. And Chris, of course, takes this as his green light to kind of put on the charm and kind of go after her, which is exactly what she wants him to do. During this time, Anna is constantly looking for proof that Chris isn't as freaking awesome as he seems to be. Their sense of humor is so similar. He's funny, he's sweet, he's smart, he's kind, and he's all of the things that just Ben really wasn't. He is something so new and so foreign to her that she's like, this can't really be real. Like, this guy can't really exist. And then Chris, of course, shows her exactly what she's been missing during her marriage to Ben. So after she breaks up with Ben, of course, she lets her intentions be known to Chris. She lets Chris know that, hey, I want to start a relationship with you. I am very, very interested in you, and I would like to see where this chemistry goes. I feel like Chris was just immediately very drawn to her, but he doesn't want to start anything with her and just kind of like set himself up to be heartbroken. So when they start their relationship, he wants to know that she's all in and that she is available mentally and emotionally to have something long term, because he knows that he wants this to turn into marriage and he doesn't want to set himself up to fail. So they wait to start any kind of real relationship until Anna is well and truly rid of Ben, and she is both emotionally and mentally able to really start a new long-term committed relationship. Anna ends up splitting from Ben in March of 2007, and then their divorce gets finalized in February of 2008. So after filming ends, they head back to LA, and this is when Anna and Chris really start dating. Like, of course, they had kind of messed around and fooled around a little bit on set. They had flirted, all of that good stuff, but they hadn't really started like fully dating yet. And when they get back to LA is when they really start dating and really start a relationship. Now, after they get back to LA, Chris calls Anna up and he's like, hey, do you want to come over? Do you want to come see my apartment? Do you want to spend a little bit of time together? Fun fact though, Anna has a dead bug collection. Just in case she wasn't quirky or weird enough for you, she's been collecting dead bugs since she was a toddler and is very, very proud of her dead bug collection, right? So she gets over to Chris's place. She walks through the door, and what does she see the very moment she walks through the door? She sees a framed mounted African stick bug. Y'all, this woman breaks down into freaking sobs. She breaks down into a puddle. She's like, oh my God, I've just found my dream man. Because apparently Chris too collects dead bugs. Apparently Chris had a dead bug collection as well, one to rival hers actually. And when they got together, they combined their collection into one massive giant kind of cemetery of dead bugs. So Chris and Anna have so much in common, right? They grew up about 20 minutes from each other, and somehow it never met until they moved to LA. They both have dead bug collections. They both got their start in spoofy kind of horror movies. They both have a parent that suffers with MS. They both, the similarities are just, it's kind of mind-blowing how perfect they, especially on paper, how perfect they truly were for each other. So when they finally did get together, it was kind of like, what took you so long? And of course, it was just like, it was easy. I know that I say all the time, some of the best relationships just kind of fall into place. Love doesn't always have to be something that you have to fight for. And sometimes it just kind of clicks. And they really did just click. Life was easy for them. And at this point, Anna is most definitely the bigger name of the two. This is going to come into play just a little bit later, but Anna is the bigger name of the two, but they're very, very happy. Chris just kind of like caters to Anna, and he really just kind of dotes on her, and Anna just eats the attention up. She loves absolutely every second of it, and very quickly they date for a little while. I think they date for around a year. But very quickly thereafter, they end up getting married. And the way they get married is just, it's perfect. It is perfect for who they are as people and as a couple. So after they dated for about a year, Chris gets down on one knee and he proposes. Now, he's said many times that he could have proposed to this woman the very day he met her. Like, that was how soon he knew that he wanted to marry her. However, he said it'd probably be just a little bit weird if he had asked her so soon, so he figured he ought to wait just a little while. But they date for a year. He gets down on one knee and he proposes. Now, y'all, the minute he slips this ring on Anna's finger, he decides he wants one too. So he ends up going out and getting an engagement band. It's pretty much just a wedding band, but he wore it for the entirety of their engagement because if she could wear one, he could wear one too. When it came to the actual wedding, like the actual ceremony, neither one of them really had any big plans. They really had no specific desire when it came to like a big wedding. They just didn't really care. They figured that they were going to have a small kind of ceremony with their friends and family, but other than that, they really didn't care. They didn't want anything big. They didn't want some big spectacular wedding, nothing like that. They just wanted to be married and kind of get it over with, right? So instead of really focusing on planning the wedding, they decide they need a vacation instead. They're going to go on a celebratory kind of like early honeymoon and just go enjoy their newly engaged bliss, right? So they decide they're going to go to Bali, of all places. They're going to go to Bali and they're just going to just going to spend some time enjoying each other and enjoying their new engagement. Now, their trip to Bali does everything but go according to plan. They get to Bali, and on the first or second day that they get there, they end up eating something really, really wrong, and they get the worst case of food poisoning. Like so much so, like it's so bad that they're like running fevers and they can't get out of bed. Like, and the only time they do get out of bed is to rush to the toilet. That kind of food poisoning, like the debilitating, make you go crazy just a little bit kind of food poisoning. Now, as they're sitting there suffering with this food poisoning, they can't keep anything down. They can't do anything except just lay there and moan and groan and die a little bit inside, right? So Anna, she picks up the menu and she's trying to find some kind of broth. Like, she knows they're starting to feel a little bit weak. Like, they've got to get some kind of nutrients into their system, but she's trying to find anything that they can actually consume and keep down. And she remarks to Chris, she says, she sees at the bottom of the menu that the resort that they're staying at also offers weddings. She's like, isn't that fun? And Chris kind of looks at her and he was like, let's just do it, right? Let's just do it. Let's just go for it. And so they do. Instead of having a big ceremony or like anything traditional at all, they end up calling down to the front desk and being like, yep, I think we're gonna take advantage of your wedding ceremony. So the staff at the resort, they find them some traditional Balinese clothing. They find a priest, and kind of like bing, bang, boom, before they even knew what was really going on, they were man and wife. So after their little pre-honeymoon, which ends up actually being their kind of honeymoon, they returned to the States as man and wife. So they ended up getting married on July 9th of 2009, and they spend the next 3 years of their lives just loving life, really. They spend the next 3 years working on their marriage and working on their careers. And during this 3 years is when Chris really finds a lot of success. At this time, like right after they come back after getting married, I think is when he gets cast in on Parks and Rec, and this is when he kind of like begins his role as Andy Dwyer, and he becomes a little bit more of a household name, and his celebrity starts to rise just a little bit. Also during this time, Anna has just done The House Bunny. She's doing a ton of movies. At this point, she's actually pretty popular. So both of their careers are going swimmingly. Life is perfection. They've got plenty of money. They have security. They are, stupid crazily in love, and life really couldn't get any better. After Chris gets the role of Andy Dwyer, he then starts to kind of branch out just a little bit, and he starts to show interest in more kind of like a little bit deeper, more juicy roles, right? So he ends up getting a part in Moneyball in 2011, and then he gets the part of a Marine in Zero Dark 30 in 2012. This is what really sets him up to become the superstar action hero that he becomes just a little bit later on. Now, in May of 2012, Anna and Chris announced that they were expecting their very first baby. And the next day, she kind of showed off her baby bump for the very first time. And of course, people absolutely lost their freaking minds. Everybody was so excited for them because they had been together for, 3 years at this point. So, it's high time they start building a family. Now, Anna's pregnancy is... Ooh, it was rough. It was rough. So her pregnancy up until like the end of the second trimester was fantastic. I want to say the first like six and a half months of her pregnancy, absolute bliss. She didn't have any problems. There was, it was kind of like business as usual. But then in the 7th month, that's when she really started experiencing quite a few problems. One day, Anna, she's feeling fine. She's perhaps just a little bit crampy, but nothing she can't really deal with. But then she wakes up in the middle of the night and something is not right. She's in full-blown labor. She is in labor. She's cramping. She doesn't know what to do, and she's only 7 months pregnant, right? So she's still got 3 months to go. So she goes. Of course, Chris wakes up, they rush over to the hospital and, trying to figure out what's going on. Now she was in full on labor. Like her body was trying to give birth to this baby. And if you've ever been pregnant or know anything about, pregnancy, things like that, you will know that that is really not a good thing. It is not a good thing at all. So the doctors are finally able to get her under control. They're able to stop the active labor with some magnesium. And they kind of they're just like, you need bed rest. You need to go on bed rest. You need to not move. You need to be as careful with your body as you possibly can, because this baby wants to be born and it's not time yet. It's not done cooking. So she goes on bed rest, and she is they keep her medicated and just keep calm and carry on. So she goes home and she stays in bed. She stays in bed for 7 days. And at the end of the 7th day, she goes into labor again. This time, doctors are unable to stop the labor. Anna ends up giving birth to their son, Jack, 9 weeks premature on August 17th, 2012. When a baby is born that premature, it just causes so many problems because they're just not done developing yet. So when Anna gave birth to Jack, he had a cerebral hemorrhage, and this cerebral hemorrhage had the potential to cause a lot of really serious damage, and not just serious damage, but lasting damage. So from the time he was born, for about a month afterward, this little baby, this little boy, he spent the first entire month of his life in an incubator. He spent it in the NICU, in the neonatal intensive care unit. So the NICU. And he had all these kinds of wires and probes on him. He had a feeding tube because, of course, Anna couldn't breastfeed. It was completely and totally traumatizing for both Anna and Chris. But I think Anna, for the most part, I think she suffered the worst just because she felt like she failed, right? She felt like her body failed. She felt like she didn't do the thing that she was supposed to do. She wasn't able to give birth to a healthy baby, right? And so she was just really, really hard on herself. She didn't leave her baby's side for the entirety of that month that he was in the hospital. But eventually he was able to pull through. They were scared that he wasn't even going to make it because he did have some serious issues when he was born due to that cerebral hemorrhage. But little Jack was able to pull through, and after a month, the doctors finally okayed him to go home. The next 18 months of their lives would basically be spent waiting, because when babies are so young, you can't really detail. It's like you don't really know what the actual damage is, right? Because it had happened to his brain, they had to wait for him to develop to see if there would be any developmental disabilities. And the Lord must have been watching over that little boy something fierce, because he was able to pull through that without any real severe lasting damage. Jack was a completely healthy little baby boy. Apart from the few vision problems that he got from the brain bleed, he also has a little bit of leg muscle weakness. I know that he had to have a little bit of work on his heart done. when he was still really young. But other than that, he is a very happy, healthy little boy. And now I think he's around 11 years old at this point, and he is completely on par developmentally with his peers. So no lasting damage to little Jack at all. This could have very easily been something that absolutely just wrecked their relationship. But instead, they decided to band together, and they were able to come out the other side relatively unscathed. And then we get to the beginning of the end, unfortunately. In 2013, Chris began filming on 2 separate movies. So first of which he began filming for the Lego Movie, and he voiced the character of Emmett in that movie. I remember going to see that movie in theaters. It was fantastic. Loved it so much. He was so funny in that movie. And then on top of that, he also started filming as he took on the role of Peter Quill in Guardians of the Galaxy. And Guardians of the Galaxy would really turn out to be the role that really catapulted him into like superstardom. It is what turned him into the kind of like sex symbol hottie patati that he is at the moment. Now, on top of having these 2 films that he's working on at the same time, he also starts having to really like lose the weight, because at this point he's kind of a little bit of a fluffy teddy bear, right? And that Anna loves that. Anna loves that he's a teddy bear because Anna is a feeder. She loves to feed her man. I don't know that she cooks so much, but she definitely would scrounge the world to find the rarest delicacies just to give to Chris. So she definitely kept him well fed, and she kept him a little bit fluffy. But all of that had to stop when he got the role of Peter Quill, because he needed to have that kind of superhero body, right? So Chris ends up dropping 60 freaking pounds and puts on 20 pounds of just lean, yummy muscle. And this is kind of like Anna doesn't know what to do with it at this point, because it's kind of like, and Anna has problems. We love Anna. Anna is freaking fantastic. She's funny, she's sweet, she's kind, but she's a little bit immature. And when it comes to the power balance of the relationship, Anna very much needs to be in control. And up until this point, Anna was a little bit, they were a little bit more on even ground. Anna could kind of like think that she was kind of like the bigger name in the couple, and she really, really preferred it that way. When Chris starts getting these bigger roles and starts getting these bigger paychecks and starts getting quite a bit more recognition, Anna doesn't really know what to do with herself, and she doesn't know how to handle this shift in the power balance. On top of this, Chris ends up spending a lot of time away from home, right? He's filming and he's working on these 2 movies. He's in the gym trying to lose the weight, trying to get his body in condition to do this other movie. And it starts to put a little bit of space between them, because up until this point, they've kind of been up each other's keisters from the moment they met. So now they're having to deal with distance for the very first time in their relationship, and they're not dealing with it as gracefully as they would have liked to. Fun fact number 2, Chris can do a mean French braid. So as Chris is filming these movies and as he's spending more and more time away from home, when he does get home, he tries to make it as special as he can, because at this point, he still is very much in love with Anna, and he still very much wants to make their relationship work. And he can see that this new situation is kind of bothering Anna in a very big way. So they start to make little traditions, trying to make small moments special. So at night, Chris actually begins braiding her hair. They end up coming up with this little ritual for bedtime every night. And as they're getting ready for bed together, Chris sits there and they talk. And while they talk, he braids her hair and gets her ready for bed. And I think that is so super sweet. I don't know about you, but getting my hair played with is one of my very favorite things in the entire freaking world. And I know when my husband pets my head or like plays with my hair at night, I'm just like, I'm totally on cloud 9. It's like one of my favorite things in the whole wide world. So of course, Anna, I'm sure, as most women would be, is exactly the same way. And this, it really helped. It helped in a very, very big way. And up until this point, they are still like that perfect couple that we all know and love and are secretly very, very jealous of. Throughout 2014 and 2015, Chris became one of Hollywood's most beloved kind of like leading men. He was in quite a few movies kind of back to back to back, and he really just got, like, with every movie that was released that he was in, he just got more and more and more popular. And as he gets more popular, he has more commitments that he has to kind of like take care of, and he just kind of has to be there for more things, right? And again, he's away from home for longer and longer periods of time, and as hard as he's trying to keep things together at home, it's just he can feel things slipping away. He can feel his marriage falling apart, and he doesn't know what to do about it. On Anna's side, I can kind of understand where she's coming from, because her first marriage, right, was to someone who was very controlling and very manipulative. So when she got with Chris, and she was kind of like the bigger name, she had more control in the relationship. It was safer. She didn't have to worry so much, and Chris was kind of there to just kind of like take care of her, right? But now that the tables are turning just a little bit, she's finding that she's not quite as secure in her relationship as she thought she was. And it's beginning to be a very, very big problem. So in quick succession, Chris does he does the Lego movie, then he does Guardians of the Galaxy, then he does Passengers. And he works on Passengers with Jennifer Lawrence. And at this point, this is when rumors start circulating, because unfortunately, Chris has gotten to the point where he is now important enough and famous enough for the gossip rags to start to want to include their name, right? Like, gossip rags want to start talking about him because it's gonna sell magazines. So rumors start swirling that Chris and Jennifer are hooking up during the filming of this movie. And of course, Anna is just like, this is not good for Anna. This is not good for her mental health. This is not good for her sense of security in their relationship. This is the beginning of the end. So after Chris gets done filming Passengers, and he finishes all of his press commitments, because again, every single movie he films and releases, he's got to do a press tour for. So at this point, he hasn't been home in like 15, 18 months. And it's been a really long time since he's seen his wife or his son. So at the end of the press tour for Passengers, Chris says that he's going to take some time. He's going to go home, and he's going to go on a vacation with his family. He's going to go and he's going to reconnect with his wife, and he's going to go see his son. Well, when he returns home, unfortunately, the damage had already been done. And Anna she couldn't handle it anymore. I think also, Anna said in a comment, she said in a quote that she did in an interview after they had divorced, that a lot of the separation and the kind of demise of their divorce falls a lot onto her shoulders, because Chris really did do everything that he could to keep them together. It was Anna, however. She said that she is really competitive, and she really just wasn't secure in the relationship. She wasn't secure in her place in their relationship anymore. And because of that, she just couldn't see it moving forward. So Chris comes home off of the Passengers press tour. They try to work things out, but at this point, their relationship is over. Though they do take a good long while to really focus on it and to really think about it, and to make sure that this is the right decision to be made, and this is the best decision for both of them and for their child. Ultimately, they decide that, they're just not meant to be together anymore. It was great while it lasted, but it doesn't work for me anymore. It didn't work for them as a couple anymore. In December of 2017, they released a statement saying that they had officially separated, and that they were going to go ahead and run with the divorce. And though they had tried really hard to make it work, they just weren't meant to be together anymore. And they made a point to say that it was nobody's fault, that this decision wasn't made in anger or spite. They had just grown apart as people, and sometimes, that just happens, unfortunately. So they both went and they filed for divorce at the same exact time. Now, when it comes to divorce, especially in LA, usually the first person to file has the upper hand in the divorce. However, because they both went and filed jointly, they filed for divorce at the same time. Nobody really had the upper hand, and they both agreed right off the bat that neither one of them was going to get any like spousal support, anything like that, because they had a prenup before they even got married in the first place. So they kind of were both going to leave the marriage with whatever they brought into it. And then on top of that, they both put on their documents that they both wanted joint custody. So again, there wasn't really any animosity in this divorce at all. It wasn't done out of spite. It wasn't done because anybody was unfaithful or because any party had wronged the other. They literally did just kind of grow apart. By October of 2018, Anna and Chris were officially divorced. It was super sad to see such a beautiful romance come to an end, but just because the romance died didn't mean that the love died with it, and they are still very much friends. They are still very much a part of each other's lives. They share a child, and they share joint custody of that child. So they're always going to be in contact. They're always going to have, a role in each other's lives. And like I said, the relationship didn't end with animosity. It didn't end with any bitterness. So they are still very much able to keep that relationship going. And they might not be best friends, but they are still friends and are still in contact. Actually, they both went on to find love again. So in 2018, Anna, she filmed the remake of Overboard. You guys remember Overboard with Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell? She remade that movie. Unfortunately, the remake wasn't anywhere near as good as the original. Sadly, things usually aren't. But one good thing did come out of that movie, and she met her new husband. So her third husband is a cinematographer. He's a man by the name of Michael Pratt, and she met him in 2018, and they've been together ever since. And then Chris went on to meet and marry Katherine Schwarzenegger. They were actually introduced by Catherine's mother, Maria Shriver, and they hit it off pretty much instantly, got married a little bit over a year later, and they two have been together ever since. Actually, Chris and Katherine went on to have 2 more children together. So Chris has kind of built himself, an even bigger, happier family. And their son, Jack, is very much a part of that new family as well. Again, they share joint custody. So Jack is over at Chris and Catherine's house all the time. And Katherine is pretty much like a second mama to little Jack. They go on vacations together. They are, Anna and Katherine might not be best friends, but they are very, very friendly. And that whole situation is just, it's about as good as a situation like that can be. As sad as I was to hear about Chris and Anna breaking up, sometimes things really do happen for the best. And I do believe that they are happier now apart than they ever were together. I am very, very thankful that I got to witness 2 such beautiful, funny people be a couple, even if it was only for 8 years. I think 8 years is a lifetime for some people, and it's definitely long enough to open and close a chapter of your life. You know what I mean? Guys, that is the end of today's video. I do hope you enjoyed it just as much as I did. If you did enjoy today's video, don't forget to give it a big old thumbs up before you leave. This is today's finished look. What do we think? Do we like it? Do we love it? Let me know in the comments below. I will, of course, be posting finished pics over on Instagram and Facebook. Tags below. Guys, I love you so, so very much. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me today. I hope you have a beautiful, wonderful, fantabulous rest of your day. As always, no filters, no fancy lighting. It is just me sitting in front of my camera telling you guys an epic love story, hoping you guys are enjoying what I'm doing. And until next time, stay safe, take care of yourselves, and remember, you're important. Bye.